what is the heavyweight fight we need to see? And not just need to see, but should be made because it's the best fight to make.
Well, you said heavyweight. Okay, so
Heavyweight. I'm going to
considering
go down
that,
the list.
right? Okay, considering that Fury said he's on his way out, and we don't know what's going to happen, he might have 2 fights. The fight that we need to see, or I think we definitely need to see, I'm gonna shock John. I may shock John. I don't know. The fight we need to see is Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. That's the fight we need to see. That is the fight, because
that's the eliminator for the title. Yes.
Right. There have been so many questions about when Wilder lost. We're still not sure about Anthony Joshua. And even if Fury does beat Joshua because he was so crafty and he has that ability, he's already telling you he's on his way out.
Right.
So the rest of it is kind of just noise and in the way. But we want to see, can Wilder come back? Is he legit? Does he mean everything? Can he provide? Can he deliver on the prophecy that he would knock Joshua the hell out? And Joshua also wants to prove that I'm a lot better than you think, Charles Foreman. Anyway, and John and Will and other people. Well, I'm a lot better than you guys think, and I want to show you by beating Wilder. So I think that's the fight.
And what we're saying, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is that even unless Fury blows Joshua out, I mean, just makes him look like he's a third grader out there, he's still, as we were talking about tiers, he's still 2A, 2B, 2C. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that would be, if Wilder's 2A or 2B, they need to go together. Okay. John, going down to, let's call it the middle, super middle, light heavy, blah, blah, blah. That
heavyweight?
Area. Yeah. So we'll ignore the light heavies for right now because we don't seem to know enough about them or care about.
Oh, there's a good fight in the light heavy.
All right, let's go let's go light heavy then.
We're seeing one of the guys this weekend. Dimitri Bivol is fighting the Spider, and Artur Beterbiev. That fight with Bivol, both undefeated, both knockout punchers. Beterbiev is a strong mother. I mean, he's a beast. Yeah. Dimitri is a little more clever, a little bit, Charles, a little craftier. Ding. So that's a great matchup. Bivol beat the living crud out of Joe Smith when they fought. But Joe Smith might get Beterbiev and likely lose, very likely lose unless he catches him. And then Dimitri Bivol and Beterbiev will finally fight each other. So that's good. And let me say something about the heavyweight. See, that you did surprise me a little real fast. You did surprise me a little, Charles, because what we need and what we're going to get. That is a great fight, Joshua. Well, not a great fight because they're great fighters, but it's an intriguing fight. But what we're going to get is Fury and Joshua. That they've been talking for so many months. And then the winner. See, the thing with real quick about Wilder's got to fight. You know, he keeps talking about coming back, and he's not. Nothing ever happens. It's like the rumor of him coming back. He's going to fight Dillian White. He's going to fight Andy Ruiz. Nothing ever is solid. So he needs to fight. Then, so you're not with him. You're not thinking anything until 2022 at the early. I mean, I hope he fights at the end of the year. But anything real serious before the end of the year is probably next year. And he's not getting any younger either. But it does that fight, Joshua and Wilder, was in a sense a few years ago the dream fight. That was the one everybody wanted to see.
Now, I know that I jump around quite a bit, but let's go back to the heavyweights because I didn't freeze. I just stopped to think for a second there.
Yeah.
The idea, who has to or wants to or needs to fight Deontay Wilder? Can you get to where you want to get to right now without fighting Deontay Wilder? Whether you're Ruiz or Chisora or Kawanaki or whomever else is out there, do you need Deontay Wilder unless it's a title fight? Charles, I don't know that you do. Because as you're looking at it, now not to say it's not a good fight, but I think he has kind of put himself off to another island, that they can go on without him. And it looks like that's why. And again, why would you fight a guy that can knock you into next week if you don't have to? Charles, is that, am I seeing that right? Or is it just that, because it doesn't look like any heavyweight you're lining up to say, I need to fight Deontay Wilder to prove myself.
No, I think you're right, spot on. I think that Wilder's put himself in a position, as you said, where he's kind of being isolated and put to the side. And the one thing that's really has hurt him, because when you think about future that's hurting him right now, is the fact that he doesn't have a belt. When you have a belt, you can't disregard him at all because of the talent. But the fact that he doesn't have a belt right now, you kind of skew, go past him or kind of tiptoe because you don't want him to hear you. But that type of situation. But I think that the other gentleman can do that because he doesn't have the belt. Now, if you want to feel froggy and you want to take on that challenge without a belt, have at it. But it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, you mentioned Ruiz will do it because he thinks he has a shot, and if it's like the Joshua fight, if he takes him down, it's another notch on his belt, right? Like one of the greatest two of the greatest upsets of all time. But other than that, I don't really see, unless, I mean, we ain't gonna say the other word, but other than that, I don't think other people really want to see him because it's almost like I just say this, we don't know what Deontay Wilder is gonna come back. Because he could come back where you like, well, they solved the mystery, they understand the equation, they can beat him, or he could be like a hurt animal, and once it heals, it's come back with reckless abandon. So to answer your question, I don't think they need to, and I think that's the reason why you don't hear people going, okay, I'm fighting him next, because of the factor that they feel they have the upper hand. And if it's an easier route to get to a title, I think the other fighters are going to take it.
And it seems to me that the way that he lost to Fury and what he's done since then, if you lose to him, it's significant. But if you beat him, it's not. I don't think you get much respect for beating Deontay Wilder right now. Because, well, he's beatable. We've seen that, and that I mean, it's hard to say a guy that's gone his entire career undefeated except for one fight is no longer important. But John, am I reading something to that, or is that kind of the way the heavyweights look at it? If there's nothing to be gained for fighting this guy right now.
Yeah, and we talked about it for years. Even when he was knocking everybody out, Deontay Wilder wasn't getting any respect.
True.
Right. I mean, going old school here, he was a Rodney Dangerfield of the heavyweight division. I mean, he didn't get any respect. And some of it was because of his lack of so-called technique. But I agreed that when Charles would say a few years ago, look, we got to give this guy some love. I agree. I mean, not everybody just knocks people out like he was doing. That's a God-given, or whatever you want to call it, kind of talent. So yes, it just bugged people that he had no footwork and he barely jabbed and he counted on landing that big right hand. Hell, he was 40-0. So I mean, it's just like George Foreman in a way. I mean, he was 37-0 with 34, and he was getting the same 34 knockouts. He's getting the same kind of criticism. He wasn't fighting anybody. He was just knocking people out, blah, blah, blah. And so it's kind of a mixed bag with Wilder. I think if you're a guy, if you're a heavyweight, you're like, okay, yeah, sure. Fury beat him, but remember, nobody else had beat him. Do I want to risk fighting that guy? It just depends on the risk versus reward thing we were talking about earlier. If you're a Michael Hunter who's going to be fighting an eliminator here soon, you'd fight him. I know without a doubt Michael Hunter would fight him. But the other guys, Usyk, he wants a shot at Joshua. Would he fight Deontay Wilder? No. No way. So Wilder gets respect, but then he gets downgraded. So it's kind of a mixture, because you're right. I'm not hearing anybody calling him out. And then the other thing is he did himself a lot of damage. I mean, he was already getting a lot of negative press when he threw Mark Whelan under the bus, one of the most beloved boxing people. When he said all those things about Mark Whelan, fired him, embarrassed him, he lost. I mean, he didn't have a lot of fans anyway, to be honest, other than in Alabama. A lot of people didn't like, which was unfair. I told you, I always liked him because when we had him on the show, he was great. So there's this image thing, and that happens with a lot of fighters. But when he did that, he should have kept that to himself, I think. You know, I know fighters can't handle losing, especially heavyweights, because we talked about George Foreman when he lost. He said Ali got poisoned when he was in it, remember? So they can't handle it when they lose to another. They think they're indestructible. But he should have just, all that stuff about his, you know, ring guard weighing 199 pounds and exhausting him. I mean, all that stuff was just ridiculous, and people called him on it. So Charles was talking about what he is, like isolated. I think he's like the odd man out right now. You know, he's there, but he's not there. And it's like, oh, there's Deontay. Well, yeah, we'll think about him later. So he's in a funny position. And lastly, real quick, I just think it's kind of a bummer because again, he's another guy that will never really get the credit he deserves for what he did. Everything he's going to do, it's going to be because we're in a weak heavyweight division, which is partly true, but still. Wilder was a dominant, I'm saying was, like he's in the past, a dominant force that knocked out people left and right. And hey, Charles, he knocked out your guy Ortiz twice. Yeah. So, right? You got to give him that. You got to give him, that's what I say to people who hate him. And I'm talking about people who hate him. I go, hey, he knocked out, nobody wants Ortiz. I don't care if he's 70 years old. Nobody wants him. Right? Nobody wants him. You don't hear anybody call him. Remember, he said to Dillian White, I'll come to England to fight you, Dillian.
Oops.
Right? Threw the key away.
Now, but see,
right?
here's
so
the thing.
It's an interesting thing, Frank, but go on. What do you
here's
got?
The thing when we talk about, and again, I'm of the mind that he's shut off to the side here because he's put himself in that box. But when you don't give a guy respect, who's got 40 knockouts or whatever it is, he also didn't get knocked out. He also made it to the point where you can say what you want about defense, offense being defense and all that, but you're in the ring. And if you can't do something boxing oriented while you're in the ring, it doesn't matter how much power you have, someone's going to take you down, which we witnessed versus Fury. But no one else did it up until then. Now, he may be intimidating, maybe all those things are factors. I get that. But it's kind of the same as we talk about the Mike Tyson thing. Eventually, someone's going to stand up to you or at least figure you out. And it took a long time for someone to figure out Wilder. And so, as Charles said, you got to give him some respect for that. Definitely. Because he did the job as a boxer. He didn't just walk in the ring and go, I'm going to hit you. Like, what's the thing? A professional slap fighting. You know, you stand here and get slapped. I stand here and get slapped. And then, you know, you actually had to box. You actually had to do something. So, I don't know.
And Frank, remember, he was going to go to Russia and fight Povetkin.
Right.
3 or 4 years ago when Povetkin, people were like, he was willing to go across the pond to Russia or England, I'm not sure, and fight Povetkin. So, again, he doesn't get any credit for that. Povetkin got popped for steroids. So,
right.
Wilder deserves all the credit in the world for that, and then of course knocking Ortiz out twice.
Frank, let me interject real quick.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you a little bit on your point. I wouldn't say that.
What else is new?
Yeah, but this
Couldn't have a show.
this is a little more on the valid side from the standpoint of the disagreement, because to say that a win over Deontay Wilder doesn't mean much now, I think it's just the opposite. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that we said earlier, only one man beat him.
Right.
Only one man beat him, which means he's still more dangerous. So if I'm a Ruiz, I don't know why, but maybe he got a death wish, whatever it is. Maybe he believes he can do it. I think he's saying, I beat two of the so-called best heavyweights you guys said. Now what? What's your excuse? So I think the other way is quite the contrary, because you don't know what you get. You don't know what you're getting with Wilder right now. You don't know. And if you take a chance and you're wrong, you get exposed. So
that's the point I'm making.
Okay, good.
But
I guess my point is, though, when you say it's not valued, it's very valued. Because it wasn't valued, they was like, okay, I'm gonna fight him. He is too, I would say this, to me, he is still too dangerous of an option
Yes.
to take a chance. So the value in the fight is there. They are afraid or they don't want to take that risk or whatever. But to just act as if he was, oh, we lost, we exposed him, you got to do the same thing. Now, I'll just say this. The man that beat him showed you that word crafty. He can be a chameleon and probably is one of the smartest boxers in my boxing minds in boxing today.
Right.
So the question is, can the other people do the same thing? Because with that being said, even Wilder, if he's still the wild bull and he doesn't change a damn thing, he still has the ability to knock you the hell out. And he did it 40 other times. And you have to be in order to beat him. So if that was the case, everybody would run after him, but nobody did.
And that, but see, that's the point I'm trying to make. If you are one of these guys that wants a belt and you don't have to fight him, why fight him?
Yeah.
Because you run the risk of that. And then if you do beat him and you beat him the way that he just got beat, and with all the baggage and all the stuff that's going on right now, the perception is you didn't prove anything. You didn't gain anything by beating Deontay Wilder. Now, that's an opinion, but again, because I think that right now, the perception is whatever he does, he's not going to do it well. You've exposed him as not being a boxer. You've exposed him to being a puncher. You exposed him as this. He threw Mark Breland under the bus, blah, 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 blah. So if you beat him, it's not as important as if you beat him a year ago. If you lose to him, well, you lost, you know? So I don't see that. Again, this is the picking and choosing thing, which I don't like. But if I'm an up-and-coming heavyweight, I've got nothing to gain by that fight if he's not in line for a title fight.
Wow, that's deep to me. That's deep to me because the only reason why I say that is deep to me, and we can go back on this all day long.
Sure.
There are not, in my opinion, there are not enough quality heavyweights to say, like, for instance, you mentioned Dillian White. Tell me, besides Joshua and Fury, another person or another candidate that is better than the Deontay Wilder far fight-wise. And only what I'm saying is from legitimacy.
Sure.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. You can say Joseph Parker, whatever. So to say that it's not, granted, I agree with you 100%. It's not, the value of the fight is not the same as it was when Deontay Wilder was champion. But when you think about these other guys trying to come up, there is nobody, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, there is nobody else out there that's going to give you the oomph if you beat them to go, all right, damn, when this Tyson Fury thing versus Joshua fight is over, this guy's next. There's nobody else out there besides Wilder. And you can say Wilder, you know, it might be, you might consider him a has-been a little bit the way he got beat, but there's nobody out there. If you beat him, and people are still going to say, that's why Ruiz is like, I'll fight him. Because nobody else wants it. Parker doesn't want it. Dillian White don't want it. We can keep them names. He is still legitimate, and to me, he is the way, a quick way. If you think you can beat him, a quick way to get a title shot, be next in line if you beat him. That's all I'm saying.
John?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because boxing is built on fighters like ex-heavyweights, champions that lose, and then the next guy wants to fight him. I mean, look at Joe Louis. He feasted on ex-heavyweights.
Right.
He knocks out Max Baer. He knocks out Primo Carnera. He knocks out Jack Sharkey, all heavyweight champions.
Step on the bodies of those who were there before.
Right.
Sure.
So if you want to risk it with Deontay Wilder, you beat an ex-heavyweight champion. See, I agree more with Charles on this. Huge. It's huge. And I think the reason Ruiz, I mean, think of the buildup. You got two ex-heavyweight champions, Ruiz and Wilder, right? The winner gets the winner of Fury and Joshua.
And
it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying that in this particular situation, I don't know that Wilder has that at this point in time. Maybe because of the way he was talking about, the costume and all that stuff seems to have knocked him down somewhat in the perspective of the other people. I'm also looking at more from a promoter's point of view as well. If I have a chance to fight Deontay Wilder, what's it going to get me? If I get a win, does it move me up any further? If I get a loss, does it move me back anymore? Well, that's the question. I don't know right now. It should. I'm just saying because of that situation, I'm not sure that it does.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, I mean, this is beautiful. I love this. So you legitimately gonna sit here and tell me that a Dillian White versus Ruiz fight is gonna get you to the next level instead of fighting Deontay Wilder? Are you kidding me? Come on, man.
It depends on the outcome of the fight. If he looks as bad against you as he did against Fury.
But he's one dude.
No, but listen to what you've already said, is that he didn't have respect before he was a champion. Does he have the respect? He has our respect, sure. But does he have the respect from the people that are pulling the strings? That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you, but yeah, he still does though. Granted, no, he didn't have the respect amongst the people watching it, the fans, or other people like that too. But he was the champion. You still got to give him the love. That's all I'm saying. But even when you mentioned about the promoters, all I'm saying to you, and we've been talking about this since we started this show, it's about if it makes dollars and cents. There's two things that we must remember. It's like Floyd Mayweather. People want to see whether or not Deontay Wilder still has it.
Sure.
And either you want to see him win, or you say, I cannot wait to see this summer gun lose again. That sells tickets. Dillian White and Ortiz is not selling tickets.
Right,
Dillian White, all I'm saying, you just mentioned it though. Dillian White and Joseph Parker are not pay-per-view. This man, even though with all of the controversy and you ever saying whatever, he's going to sell tickets. That's all the reason what I'm saying to you is, even from a promoter standpoint, it's worthwhile because we don't know. So many questions are still surrounding him, which means people will pay $79.99 to find out. Otherwise, I'm going to watch Fox or whatever for these other fights. All I'm saying is, here's what I'm saying. And the reason why I'm mentioning about him is, I need somebody else beside, and I'm going to give Ruiz a pass because he did do it. These other guys need to show me something else that is legitimate to what Deontay Wilder has done. And I'm not talking about the two guys at the top. Nobody else, in my opinion, has done that. So you want to take the chance. He is the guy. Other than that, all I'm asking you is name me two other fighters that's going to get the promoters excited about making money. And that
I can't name one. That's you're missing the point of what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that. Yes, you are.
Go ahead.
I'm not. The point of what I'm trying to say is, where does it further your career losing to Deontay Wilder? Does it? Does it further your career lose?
Okay. Let me ask you this, but it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk because if you lose to him, does it further it? No. Losing period.
Okay, well, let me finish the point.
Go ahead.
I'll say something here. I just read that Wilder had recently had bicep surgery on his right bicep, his power, and he's fully recovered and he's back in training. So that's part of the reason that we haven't seen him. He had a surgery on his bicep, and that takes a long time to recover from. And I'm just reading a headline that says Andy Ruiz says, I'd love for a fight with Wilder to happen, would be all action. So Andy Ruiz wants that fight. He wants that fight, Charles, just like we were saying. And I think the reason he's confident is not only because of his abilities, but because he's got a cast iron chin, Andy Ruiz. Mm-hmm. So he thinks that if he can take Joshua's best shots, and he took them, remember he got knocked down, but people forget that when he got up, he got hit with a vicious shot and didn't even blink.
Mhm.
He probably thinks he can take Wilder's right hand. I wouldn't stick my chin out and say hit me, but he must think he can take it. So, but no, I get what he's saying, and I think we get, even though Frank just said we're not getting his point. I think we're getting it. Risk versus reward, and I think I think you got to fight Deontay Wilder if you're whatever, because you do. Oh, there he is. Go ahead.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
don't want to put words in your mouth. Go ahead.
There is our Knox Landing cliffhanger. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week. No, okay. And I know we've got about 2 minutes to wrap this up. Okay, and I'm not sure how long I was going to. The point that I'm trying to make, and I don't agree with it from a fan's point of view. I don't agree with it from what we want. But I'm just saying the way things are done now, where people don't fight people for very stupid reasons. You don't prove anything by losing to Deontay Wilder. And at this point, by beating him, unless it's a really close fight, if you beat him the way Fury beat him, you don't prove much by beating him. Because now the wording is going to be, see, we told you he wasn't any good.
He's damaged.
So he's damaged goods, right? So you beat somebody that everybody can beat. That's the point I'm trying to make. I'm not saying it's a fight we don't want to see. I'm not saying it's a fight we don't want to pay for. I'm not saying it's a fight that everyone's not going to pay for. I'm just saying at the end of it, unless it's almost a draw, I don't know. And if Wilder comes out and makes the changes that he's supposed to make, or he should make, if he fights a better, more well-rounded fight and looks more like a boxer than just a guy throwing bombs. And again, I just earlier in the show, I've said it takes a lot to fight that many fights with that many knockouts without getting knocked out yourself. So I agree that he's more than that. But the perception, I believe, is that he's not. So if you're one of these guys it's a tough fight to take if you don't have to take it, is what I'm trying to say.
I agree with that, but I'll just say this.
Okay.
When you mentioned very quickly, I think the only way that you say he's damaged goods is if he was to fight Fury again and the same thing happened. I still think somebody else has to prove that that's the case. And I don't think that's happened. That's the one fight. And granted, maybe the perception may be that way because people don't like him or the promoters. All I'm saying to you is, I still think there's some value in fighting him. If you lose to him, there's no value in losing to anyone. But I guess my point is,
right? Oh, yeah.
There's no value there. I mean, some of these guys that are coming up, there's no true reward to fighting a lesser name than Deontay Wilder. There's nobody out there, I think, that's going to give you more of a reward if you beat him. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. And we basically agree. We're just saying it in a different way. Here's my take, and I know we've got to go here, John. Sorry.
That's all right. No, I was just going to throw something in myself. So go ahead. I'll go next.
Okay. Well, let me say this real quick. What did Lennox Lewis prove by beating Mike Tyson?
He proved something to himself.
Yeah. To himself, sure. And to those like us that didn't think he had the stones to do it. Okay. But in his career, what did that prove to the purists or whatever? Because as we said at that point, Mike Tyson was damaged goods.
Right, but it was too late.
Now
it was too late, and everybody knew that. Right. Let me just say this: it's not the same as Deontay Wilder. Everybody knew what happened with Tyson. It's not the same.
Right.
It's just me.
Well, and I think you're right, but I don't know from what I'm hearing if that's right. That's my point. From what I'm hearing and what I think the perception of Wilder is right now is that I just don't think that beating him is going to be all that impressive. It will be to us. I just don't think it will be to the powers that be. That's all.
Wow,
Go ahead,
that's
John.
Yeah, and Frank, Charles, really fast. See, the problem with the public now is all they do is they remember your last fight, and everybody remembers
that's-
Fury getting beat and talking about all this crap. So if I'm his team, I want to make people forget that. I want to start talking about, like I just read an article, now he's showing his explosive knockout power again. I want to remind people, right, that this is a guy that was knocking everybody out. Okay, you criticize him all you want, but he was knocking everybody out. So I want to bring him back up, and I think it can be done. I do, if they handle it correctly. I would have him have a tune-up fight and knock somebody out in the first or second round again, just to remind everyone, hey, this guy, you think what you want. Get that memory part. So the last fight he had, he wins, like they did with Fury when Fury was off for a while with the drug issue.
Right.
He came back and fought a couple of guys, right, and took care of that bad juju in the back, right? So do that with Deontay Wilder. Remind everyone, okay, we know he's limited in some respects,
Exactly.
but hey, he's still got this, and this thing is loaded with TNT. So if you want to risk fighting him, but if you beat him, see, I still think it's in the long line of boxing history. You beat an ex-champion. I don't care what he is. I don't care if he's 100 years old and hasn't beat anybody in a month or a year or 2 years. It looks good on your resume. That's why a lot of people want to fight Manny Pacquiao, 42-year-old Manny Pacquiao. It looks good on your resume. It doesn't matter. There you go.
So Frank, I'll just say this. We will agree to disagree. I'm gonna leave it right there. There you go.
See, but I'm not entirely sure that we disagree. We're just seeing it the same basic thing. Just a little different.
We disagree.
No, we disagree. John is a third party. We disagree. No,
all right.
We disagree, and that's cool.
That's cool, yeah. Because again, I'm not saying he's washed up. I'm just thinking other people are saying he's washed up.
I don't think they believe it. I think they're scared. That's what it is, because they don't know.
Oh, there's that too. Sure, there's that too. So again, if you don't, I want to see the fight. I want to see him fight somebody.
See, Frank, real fast. If he's washed up, then why aren't a lot of heavyweights calling him out?
Thank you. If that's the perception.
The fans might say it, but you don't see the guys who are going to get in the ring, do you? You don't hear Joshua saying anything anymore. You don't hear anybody.
Again, why call out somebody when it's not to your benefit?
But it is to your benefit.
Crushed. Well, if you get crushed, it doesn't do you any good.
It's a risk business.
That's part of the argument. The thing we've been railing against for the last year. Why don't they make the fights that are worthwhile? Because this is a fight that's good. Well, I've come to the conclusion they don't, and they don't. So if it's a bad risk for someone, though we think they should make the fight, they don't make the fight.
Right.
That's all I'm saying.
I'm with that. I get that, but it's not because he's washed. It's not because he's washed.
I didn't say he's washed up.
But the promoters know he's not washed. It's one fight. They know that. One fight.
The fighters know it too.
Fighters know it too. The fighters definitely know it. Yeah.
All right. One last question. If that's the case, Dillian White, step the hell up. If he washed and you don't believe it, you want to make money, you want the next shot, step up. It's not because he's not going to help me. You're not ready. You don't want to take that chance. Look, if Dillian White loses to Deontay Wilder, that's it.
Right. That's my point.
That's the point. Yeah.
But it's not because he's washed, though.
I didn't say he's washed up. I'm saying that's the point.
You said that's.
I'm saying the promoters think he is. I'm not saying I think he is.
But still, that's the observation. That's not wise. That's wrong.
Yes, it is.
That's an invalid excuse, because to say that after one fight, even with the Tyson thing, I would give you that. To say that one fight means people, the only reason I'm saying this way is people legitimately discard, they spit on stuff they don't understand and other things that they are afraid of. That's what they do. And if that's the case with these promoters, that's what they're doing. Not that it's true, but that's what they're doing.
All I'm saying, and I agree with you, all I'm saying is if you beat Deontay Wilder now, it doesn't prove as much if you beat him when he was undefeated. And why would you take that risk the way they do things now when you don't have to? If you don't have to fight him, why would you fight him? Again, I don't agree with that perception. I don't agree with that programming, but I see the way things are now. I don't know that if I'm one of these other guys where beating him doesn't prove as much to the people that validate your wins, and you stand a very good chance of getting blasted out in 3 rounds, why would you take that fight?
Okay.
Well, then you got to give it to Andy Ruiz, Frank. I mean, he's going to be giving up 7 inches in height, wingspan of about 700 inches, and he's going to have to get under those big, powerful punches to clip Deontay Wilder.
Right.
So what do you say? You say Andy Ruiz is a real fighter.
Exactly. More power to him. That's what I'm trying to say, is that you have people that will do that because of some people, because of the significance of what it means to them and the fact that they want to win the fight. All I'm saying is from the business side of things, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense because you have less to gain. I'm not saying you don't want to make the fight. I'm not saying it doesn't do anything to you to get in the ring with the guy. I'm saying from the business point of view that I don't know that you have as much to gain by fighting this guy right now, like John said, unless he fights a fight or two and gets himself back on that level where you're like, this is the guy that we got to have. That's all.
But see, real fast, let me say this real fast, Charles. Charles, you made a really good point because you sell the fact that Wilder is the bad guy, just like Floyd Mayweather did. So a fight with whoever he fights is going to sell. They're wrong. If they're not thinking people care, they are dead wrong. We're going to go into the promoting business. What do you think? Charles, go ahead.
I'm with you. I think 100%. I have a homework question or a homework assignment for Frank Gordon since we're there too. Since you said it doesn't make sense, you're talking about the people that don't think it's going to make money, you should just evade him. Do me a favor. Look at the heavyweight division and minus Fury, minus Joshua. Find me 3 fighters that will make more money or make more sense to push somebody up trying to get to that next level besides fighting Deontay Wilder.
I don't need homework. There are none. I don't need to do his homework. There are none. I'm not arguing that.
I'm with you, but that's my point though. But when you
when
you say the point about the promotions as if they have nothing to gain, like you mentioned about Ruiz, he has everything to gain because if he wants to show that he's a real champion, granted the pride is cool, all the other stuff, that's not gonna make dollars. You fighting Dillian White, it's not gonna go people, but damn, he need to get that next shot. No, but you fight Deontay Wilder, beaten, worn out, whatever the hell you want to call it. And as John mentioned, as an ex-champion, that's going to get you the shot. Not even in the business, people know that. And if anybody says any different, if that was the case, and this would be my last point, if that was the case, then hell, we have Parker versus White, we have Ruiz versus Ortiz. We're not getting none of that because it don't make dollars. It don't make sense. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. That's not my point. Now, maybe I'm not making it clear enough. That's not my point. But that's right. I'm not. This isn't an argument.
It's not. But here, it's not an argument. But you have to, when you say what you say, you got to be able to say, you got to recognize the other part. And I don't think you're doing that. But
I recognize the other part of it too.
But that's the debate though. And that's what we're going to leave.
That's the fun of it.
That's why we're going to agree to disagree. And people are going to watch this and they're going to be entertained. And when they see it's done, let the people decide what they want to see. Comment, step in, let us know who you thought what side you fall on. There's no right or wrong. Please comment because this is what we're talking about right here. This is what we're talking about.
And we're running out of time.
Yeah,
I'm gonna end it this way. I have the power of the editing button. Everything you just said, we're getting rid of.
Of course you do. Look. Of course, they said that's when you scared to fight, or when you scared to face a real competitor.
That's my point. Yeah. That's the way they do things. They're afraid for the competition Why go to the competition if it doesn't give you the level? Anyway, all right. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've yelled and screamed at each other. I even spit on the screen 3 or 4 times. So, but that's a good thing. It's a very good
Yeah,
thing.
this was fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. So next week we'll come back and say, we'll make the same argument for Spence Crawford. We'll do the same thing. Okay, now, understanding we have a week till Canelo.
Yep.
So we're going to look at that more in depth next week. But the idea being, I think we asked this about 1.5 years ago. Is Canelo the face of boxing? Should Canelo be the face of boxing? Will Canelo be the face of boxing this time in 2 weeks? Real quick, John.
In 2 weeks, he said?
Yes, yes.
Canelo is the face of boxing. And I'll tell you
Okay.
why. Because his advertising, I always complain about this. You rarely hear anything on the radio with boxing anymore. You do see things on television. His advertising is radio, television, internet, everywhere. He is the number one. It's just like when Floyd Mayweather used to fight. He's the number one guy. He has emulated Floyd Mayweather in the sense that DAZN is doing a great job of handling his career.
Yes.
And you got to give it to them, right? So he is undoubtedly, to me, the number one. You don't even have to. The proof is the fact that you don't have to say his full name. You just say Canelo. And most
you didn't have to say his real name, right? Yeah.
Right. That's right. It's Saul. Right. Saul. Right. Saul. So he's undoubtedly the number one boxing guy right now.
Okay, Charles. Then, is there a clear-cut number 2, and is there a way the number 2 can overtake him in the next year?
No, there's no clear-cut number 2. No, because of the factor, like John mentioned, he copied the blueprint of Floyd Mayweather. He makes sure that he fights enough. I mean, he's fighting twice, almost looking at 3 times when nobody else was fighting. That's why you mentioned asking about fighter of the year.
Right.
During the pandemic. It was Canelo because he got out of his contract,
Right.
so allegedly, or whatever it was, and he put himself on the map. And that's what people want to see. He continued to build his fan base. And even though we don't like it, he's beating guys that are undefeated, guys that are champions. He's wiping them out on a higher level, as far as a higher weight class, and he's still fighting. Nobody else is really doing that. He's stepping up, and I don't see anybody else. There have been a few other, even if you say Errol Spence Jr., he's not on that level where this dude is taking. Yeah, he's not taking. So this guy, he's the guy. He knows it. He's fighting again. Like we said, he just fought. Now he's fighting again. He might fight again for the end of the year. The guy's fighting. He's playing the schedule out. People want to see him, and that's what it is.
Okay. All right. So we will yell at each other another time. I love being able to edit this. No, just all right, folks. Thanks again. This is Real Boxing Talk, and it got real today. So
it got
thanks
real,
to you guys, and we will jump again.